The exchange hall of Nexus 7 Academy hummed like a restrained storm, quiet on the surface, dangerous underneath. Thousands of cadets from 100 civilizations milled through the vast atrium, their steps softened by the pressure-regulated flooring, their voices dulled by acoustic dampeners. Even so, when a human walked through, conversations tended to dip into that peculiar hush unique to species unsure whether they were witnessing brilliance or a warning. Lyra Hale ignored it, as she usually did. She walked with the deceptively relaxed gait common among those raised on Deathworld-class planets, worlds where gravity pressed harder, wildlife struck faster, and survival bred reflexes before personality. Her academy uniform sleeves were rolled to the elbows, revealing forearms marked not by scars, but by the density of someone who grew up wrestling with physics itself. She wasn't the biggest cadet. She wasn't the loudest. She simply moved like someone who'd already survived things other cadets considered impossible. Most days, that was enough to make people keep a respectful distance. Most days. Today, someone forgot. A trio of Varkunk cadets, tall, plated, impatient, blocked her path near the gravlift. Their species trained in kinetic dominance rituals, and Nexus 7 was their first exposure to anything vaguely resembling humans. They'd seen Holos, sure. But Holos didn't prepare anyone for the unnerving calm of a Deathworlder at rest. The largest one clicked its mandibles in a gesture their culture considered a challenge. Not that Lyra cared about alien etiquette manuals. You, it rasped in accented standard. You shoved past us yesterday. She hadn't. She'd simply walked faster than they'd expected. Lyra sighed. I'm trying to get to orientation. Move. A crowd formed. Quiet, eager, the way students watch a storm cell approach, unsure whether to run or record. The first strike came without warning. A sharp, plated shove to her shoulder. Cadets gasped. Even the ring of holographic instructors flickered as if bracing. Lyra didn't fall. Didn't flinch. She only blinked once, slowly, like a predator mildly inconvenienced. Fine, she said. That's one. And the exchange hall suddenly felt too small for what would come next. The Varkunk trio hadn't expected her to stay standing. Their species were used to momentum. That was the whole philosophy of their martial culture. Strike first, strike hard, overwhelm. A single shove from a plated forelimb could rattle most humanids, especially those from low-grav worlds. Even other Academy species tended to step back when a Varkunk decided to get physical. But Lyra Hale's expression remained calmly, unnervingly neutral. The largest Varkunk, apparently their leader, tilted its head, mandibles scraping in something halfway between confusion and renewed challenge. Around them, the crowd tightened, the air tasting of anticipation and recycled oxygen. Perhaps you did not feel the first correction, it said, voice dry like shifting stone. I will clarify. Lyra exhaled as if mentally counting down the minutes this would make her late to orientation. You get one more, she murmured. Then we're done. Her tone wasn't threatening. It wasn't angry. It simply carried the quiet finality of someone setting a boundary that the universe itself tended to respect. The Varkunk stepped closer, too close. Its shadow fell across her uniform. It lifted its plated arm again, this time with intention sharpened into something unmistakably deliberate. The second strike landed with a dull thunk, echoing through the exchange hall. Harder this time. Enough force to send most cadets sprawling. The impact pushed Lyra half a step sideways, boots scuffing the floor, muscles tensing from instinct rather than injury. A ripple moved through the gathered students, hushed shock, sympathetic winces, whispered translations across species. Lyra straightened slowly. No shake. No stagger. No fear. Just that same unblinking patience that made Deathworlders the stuff of rumors across half the academy. She looked at the trio as if evaluating whether the uniform code allowed her to deal with this efficiently. Then she said it. Soft. Controlled. A phrase that didn't raise alarms in her voice but set them off in the minds of everyone listening. That's two. A murmur rolled through the hall like distant thunder. The Varkunk shifted uneasily, something primal flickering behind its compound eyes, instinct warning that it had just stepped over a line most beings didn't survive. The universe, as it turned out, heard the count too. And it was already bracing for the third impact. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. The exchange hall hung suspended between one breath and the next, as if the station's artificial gravity itself hesitated to commit to the moment. Even the omnipresent hum of power conduits seemed to dim under the weight of what everyone sensed was coming. Lyra didn't posture, didn't shift her stance, didn't ready herself. She simply existed in that stillness with the quiet certainty of someone who had grown up on a world where hesitation meant death, and composure meant survival. Across from her, the Varkunk trio exchanged glances, quick, unreadable to most species, but clear enough in intent, a mixture of disbelief, irritation, and the stubborn pride of a people who had never known a human outside of documentaries and exaggerated military briefings. The leader's mandibles clicked again. This time, the sound was sharper. Irritated. Defensive. "You do not understand your place," it said. Lyra's eyes narrowed a fraction. "I do. That's why I told you to stop." A few cadets in the back whispered. Someone from a floating jelly-formed species drifted higher to get a better view. A group of insectid scholars chittered as they recorded the confrontation, eager to analyze human behavior under pressure. No one intervened. Nexus 7 had rules, yes. Dozens of them. But it was also a place where hundreds of cultures brought their own definitions of conflict, challenge, and consequence. A scuffle wasn't unusual. A scuffle involving a Deathworlder, however, was something everyone wanted to witness, but no one wanted to stand in the middle of. The Varkunk leader stepped forward again, posture tightening into something more aggressive. Its companions shifted to flank it, slow and deliberate, forming a loose triangle around Lyra. A tactic. A trap. A mistake. Lyra rolled her shoulders once, loosening them like someone preparing to stretch rather than fight. "Don't," she said softly. "Just don't." But pride is louder than caution. And the need to prove dominance is older than diplomacy. The Varkunk raised its arm for a third strike. This one not a shove, not a correction, but a declaration. A strike meant to end the confrontation by forcing Lyra to yield. The hall inhaled collectively. And the universe waited. The Varkunk's arm descended. Not with fury, but with the absolute confidence of a species that had never encountered anything on par with a human who'd grown up on a planet that tried to kill her every day. The impact landed squarely against Lyra's shoulder. A sharp thud. A compressed exhale of displaced air. A vibration through the floor panels. And then, nothing. Not the nothing of calm, but the nothing that precedes an avalanche. Lyra didn't move. Not a step. Not a sway. Not a flinch. The shock of the strike didn't travel through her. It died on contact, absorbed by a body shaped by high gravity, dense muscle fibers, and instincts honed in storms that swallowed buildings. But the Varkunk felt something. Its arm jolted as if it had slammed into something immovable. A tremor ran through its plating. Its stance broke. The alien actually stumbled backward, one foot skidding out, claws scraping to regain balance. A ripple of gasps swept through the onlookers. Human eyes widened. Alien pupils constricted. A dozen translation devices replayed the moment on tiny holograms, trying to understand the physics of what they'd just witnessed. Lyra finally lifted her gaze. Her voice, when it came, wasn't raised. Wasn't angry. Wasn't even cold. It was inevitably true. That was 3. The Varkunk leader froze, instinct, cultural training, and primal fear tangling inside its chest. Its companions shifted uncertainly, glancing between Lyra and each other, suddenly unsure of their own strength, their own assumptions. But it wasn't Lyra's voice that sent a shiver across the hall. It was what happened next. The floor beneath them vibrated, just slightly, just enough for the sensors in the walls to activate stabilization subroutines. Lights flickered. Temperature regulators hiccuped, then overcompensated. Some cadets grabbed at their seats or companions, feeling the faint pressure wave brushing across them like a soft wind. Only a handful understood what it was. Not an attack. Not a reaction. Not Lyra doing anything at all. It was the universe rebalancing itself around an object. No, a person, who refused to be moved. A Deathworlder absorbing force did not simply end a strike. It made the world recalculate its physics. The Varkunk leader stared at her, mandibles trembling. "What are you?" It whispered. Lyra exhaled slowly. "Told you," she said. "You should have stopped at one." For a long moment, no one moved. The exchange hall's ambient systems finished compensating for the ripple, lights stabilizing, floor panels resetting their micro-adjustments, the faint hum of gravity regulators returning to equilibrium. To most beings, these fluctuations meant nothing. To the instructors monitoring from the upper gallery, however, the readings scrolling across their consoles told another story entirely. Impact resistance anomaly. Localized inertial dampening spike. Biophysical signature, human. Classification, Deathworlder. The hall's silence stretched, thick and anticipatory, as if the station itself was waiting for something to break the tension. Somewhere overhead, a drone paused mid-flight, its sensors whirring to re-evaluate risk protocols. The Varkunk leader took a half-step back, an instinctive retreat, small but impossible to hide. Its two companions mirrored the motion, plates clicking softly as they reassessed the situation with new, uneasy respect. Lyra hadn't shifted her stance at all. She dusted her shoulder, more out of habit than need, and adjusted her uniform sleeve. The motion was calm, casual, almost bored. It was the kind of gesture one might make after brushing off a stray leaf. And that, more than anything, unsettled the crowd. You couldn't intimidate someone who treated your best strike like housekeeping. One of the alien cadets, an avian species with quills instead of feathers, whispered loud enough for half the hall to hear. "Humans aren't supposed to do that." A reptilian cadet beside them hissed back. "She's from a Class 3 death world. They bend physics for breakfast." Lyra ignored the commentary as she stepped forward. The Varkunk trio tensed, expecting retaliation. But she merely walked past them, calm as a drifting moon. "Move," she said. They moved. It was instantaneous. Reflexive. Not obedience, self-preservation. Lyra continued toward the grav lift, boots tapping lightly across the panels. The crowd parted before her, a ripple of silent awe. Some stared at her as if she were a weapon barely contained by a uniform. Others, those who had studied human tenacity, looked with a strange mixture of fear and fascination. A small figure materialized beside her as she reached the lift, Professor Senka, one of the Academy's senior xenopsychologists. A thin, gray-skinned being with luminous eyes and a posture that suggested they had not hurried in decades. "Cadet Hale," Senka said smoothly. "A moment of your time, if you please." Lyra sighed internally. Of course an instructor had been watching. Of course she wasn't getting to orientation on time today. She stepped into the lift as Senka joined her. The doors closed. The hall exhaled. And the universe, still recalibrating, quietly prepared for what came next. The gravlift rose with a gentle hum, its transparent walls giving a sweeping view of Nexus 7's interior architecture, layers of metallic walkways, suspended lecture pods, and drifting drones that monitored cadet traffic like patient shepherds. Professor Senka stood beside Lyra with the serene composure of someone who rarely reacted outwardly to anything. Their species, the Esserith, communicated emotional nuance through subtle shifts in bioluminescent veins beneath their skin. Right now, those veins pulsed a cautious silver. A color that meant something significant just happened. Lyra crossed her arms and leaned back against the railing. "If you're going to lecture me, save it. They started it." "I am aware," Senka said, voice soft and melodic. "I was monitoring the exchange hall." "Of course you were." Senka turned slightly, studying her with that unnervingly calm Acerith gaze. Your reaction to the third strike registers as an anomaly in the Academy's behavioral assessment grid. Lyra frowned. I didn't react. Precisely. Senka's eyes brightened faintly, a sign of heightened intellectual interest. That is the anomaly. Lyra shrugged. It's a Deathworld thing. We're built tougher. You know that. Toughness, Senka replied, does not normally create a localized inertial dampening field. Lyra blinked. A what? The professor tapped a thin finger against the lift's hollow panel, pulling up a recording. The image replayed the third strike in slow motion. But this time, Lyra saw something she hadn't noticed. A faint shimmer, barely perceptible, radiated outward from her at the moment of impact. Not energy. Not light. More like. The air itself briefly tightened around her, then released. It wasn't intentional. It didn't look like something she did. It looked like something the universe did around her. Lyra stiffened. That isn't normal. No, Senka agreed gently. It is not. The lift slowed as they neared the orientation atrium. Cadets streamed past in orderly lines, unaware of the conversation happening above their heads. Senka folded their hands behind their back. Cadet Hale, the Academy has accepted Deathworlders before. Many, in fact. But you are the first whose biophysical readings suggest a structural interaction with kinetic force. Lyra stared at the fading shimmer on the hollow screen. Meaning what? Meaning, Senka said calmly, that when you are struck, the universe compensates. Lyra opened her mouth to respond, but the lift doors slid open with a soft chime. A quiet alarm sounded in Senka's wrist device. They glanced at it, silver veins flashing a wary violet. Ah, they murmured. It seems the Varkunk delegation has filed a formal challenge. Lyra groaned. Senka offered a thin smile. Welcome to Nexus 7 Academy, Cadet Hale. The orientation atrium stretched like the inside of a cathedral built by engineers. Towering ceilings lined with hollow banners, layered balconies of cadets moving between sessions, and the steady drone of announcements echoing in refined harmony. It was meant to inspire all. Lyra only felt a headache blooming behind her eyes. A cluster of eyes followed her and Professor Senka as they stepped into the flow of traffic. Whispers rose behind them, curiosity flavored with fear, the kind that followed stories spreading faster than the people involved in them. Senka's wrist device chimed again. Lyra sighed. Tell me they're not dumb enough to double down on this. They are Varkunk, Senka replied. Their cultural pride leaves them very little maneuverability around perceived challenges. Worse, they believe you humiliated them in front of their peers. I didn't even do anything. Sometimes, Senka said with a faint lift of an eyebrow, doing nothing is the greatest humiliation. Lyra hated that this made sense. Senka swiped their wrist device, projecting a small hollow window between them. Varkunk glyphs spun before translating into standard. Formal honor challenge. Accusation. Human cadet employed concealed tech to counteract sanctioned physical correction. Demand demonstration of true physical capability in supervised environment. Venue, Arena C7. Time immediate. Lyra groaned so loudly a few passing cadets flinched. They think I'm carrying tech? To be fair, Senka said mildly, the alternative explanation is that you violated several known laws of momentum. I didn't violate anything. I just absorbed a hit. Indeed, Senka replied. In a manner no human has ever been documented doing. Great. Because being the weird kid from the lethal gravity planet wasn't enough, now she was a physics glitch. Lyra rubbed her temples. Can I refuse? You may. Senka paused. But culturally, they will interpret a refusal as admission of guilt. And the gossip channels will erupt for weeks. Additionally, the Academy may open an inquiry into your physiology. Lyra stiffened. An inquiry? Senka nodded. Which I suspect you would dislike even more than a supervised demonstration. Lyra imagined being poked, scanned, prodded, interviewed, and dissected in academic papers for the rest of her cadet life. Arena C7 suddenly sounded much more appealing. "Fine," she muttered. "Let's get this over with." Senka's violet glow softened to blue, a sign of approval. "This way, Cadet Hale." They moved through the atrium, heading toward the arena lifts. Cadets parted around Lyra like a school of fish avoiding a shark. She tried not to notice how many whispered the same phrase as she passed. "The girl who took 3 hits." Lyra clenched her jaw. She didn't care about the whispers. But she absolutely cared about why the 3rd hit hadn't felt like a hit at all. And Arena C7 might be about to give her answers she wasn't sure she wanted. Arena C7 wasn't one of the grand arenas, the ones used for interspecies games or high-level demonstrations. Those had seating for thousands and atmospheric effects that adjusted to cultural preferences. C7 was smaller, more intimate, more clinical. A training dome built from reinforced alas and lined with layers of inertial dampeners. Lyra stepped into the preparation chamber and immediately felt the shift in gravity, just a touch firmer than the hallways outside. Most species complained about it. She barely noticed. Professor Senka walked beside her with hands folded, their expression unreadable. "If it comforts you," they said, "a formal challenge here must adhere to strict academy protocols. Supervision, safety fields, medical oversight, no lethal force." Lyra snorted. "That's not comforting. I'm not worried about me." A soft glow flickered beneath Senka's skin, an Esserith sign of restrained concern. "It is precisely that mindset which worries me." Before Lyra could reply, the chamber doors hissed open. The Varkunk delegation entered. 3 cadets from the exchange hall led the way, now joined by 2 senior representatives, taller, with heavier plate armor and intricate markings carved into their exoskeleton. Behind them, a cluster of observers filtered in. Instructors, drone recorders, curious cadets from at least a dozen species. The arena's central platform activated, projecting a circular boundary of faint white light across the floor. Challenge parameters materialized in a floating hollow. Objective: determine whether human cadet employed concealed kinetic dampening technology. Method: standardized calibrated strikes, non-lethal, administered under observation. Cadet may not retaliate. Monitoring systems will measure energy distribution upon impact. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "So the test is literally hit the human and see what happens?" Senka nodded. "The wording is inelegant, but yes." Varkunk murmurs rippled across the arena as the senior representative stepped into the center. Its mandibles clicked in a pattern that meant formal recognition, followed by lower tones, accusation. "You carry tech," it declared. "No flesh being absorbs a direct Varkunk correction without displacement." Lyra stepped into the ring, boots crossing the boundary of light. "I don't have tech," she said. "I have bones, muscles, gravity training, and patience that's wearing thin." The senior Varkunk tapped its chest, signaling readiness. "Then the truth will reveal itself." Senka took their place at the side console. "Cadet Hale, remember, you cannot strike back." "Wouldn't dream of it," Lyra replied, rolling her shoulders. The arena lights dimmed slightly. Sensors calibrated. Drones hovered in a slow circle. The Varkunk stepped forward for the first calibrated strike, this time controlled, measured, scientifically clean. Lyra braced herself, not physically, but mentally. She wasn't afraid of pain. She was afraid of not understanding what had happened earlier. The Varkunk's plated arms swept forward in a prescribed arc. A clean, recorded impact. And then, there it was again. That shimmer. That impossible tightening in the air. That microscopic stall in reality. The strike landed. And the universe noticed. The Varkunk stumbled back a full step, shock rippling through its posture. The arena's sensors went wild. Numbers spiked. Drones chirped warnings. Senka's eyes widened as the console flooded with data. Lyra didn't move at all. Not an inch. Something was very, very wrong with the laws of physics around her. And everyone in the arena knew it. For a heartbeat, the arena was silent. Not the tense kind of silence. This was the vacuumed, oxygen-ripped, sound-swallowed kind that happens when an entire room realizes the numbers on the screen break the universe. Professor Senka was the first to recover. Their fingers danced across the console, pulling up sublayer diagnostics, verifying calibration, rerunning calculations. Impossible, they murmured. The Varkunk warrior who had struck Lyra flexed its arm, confused. Varkunk exoskeletons were built to withstand atmospheric re-entry if necessary. Its limbs shouldn't ache from hitting a soft-bodied mammal. Yet it shook its arm like someone who just punched a metal bulkhead. The drones projected the impact data into the air for all to see. Expected displacement, human body 72 centimeters. Observed displacement, 0 centimeters. Energy absorption, 0%. Energy reflection, 148%. Gasps erupted across the arena. One of the younger cadets whispered, "Reflection over 100%? That means the strike came back harder than it was delivered." Senka finished, voice cracking with disbelief. Lyra frowned. "I didn't do anything." Senka snapped their gaze toward her. "Cadet Hale, you generated an energy inversion field without equipment." Lyra blinked. "I don't even know what that is." The senior Varkunk stepped forward, mandibles flaring with suspicion. "No being can simply reflect kinetic energy. Not without advanced armor. Alchemy. Void forging. Something forbidden." Lyra spread her hands. "I'm telling you, whatever you saw, I didn't cause it on purpose." The Varkunk pointed at the sensor display. "Your species is dangerous. Unregistered. Unpredictable." That set off murmurs in at least 10 languages. Senka slammed their hand on the console. "Enough. There is no evidence of hostile intent. We are here for data." The system chimed for the next strike. The Varkunk hesitated, just for a second, before stepping back into position. The hesitation wasn't fear. It was confusion. Varkunk prided themselves on physical supremacy. They weren't used to the laws of physics disagreeing with them. Lyra watched its stance. She felt the air around her again, that strange tightness, as though the world was waiting, breath held, before anything even happened. "Ready," Senka called. Lyra inhaled. The second strike came faster, controlled, yes, but harder. Enough to put a Denteran warrior through a wall. It landed squarely. And reality bent. A shockwave rippled outward, not violent, but visible, like air turning to glass for a split second. The Varkunk was thrown backward several meters, landing with a grunt that echoed across the dome. Lyra didn't even sway. Her boots remained planted, anchored by something that wasn't strength. It felt like a stabilizing force was holding her in place. Something inside her. Or around her. Or woven with her. Senka stared at the data as if witnessing a deity peel back the sky. "Energy inversion confirmed," they whispered. "Autonomous. Origin unknown." Drones zoomed closer to Lyra, analyzing her from every angle. The Varkunk scrambled to its feet, furious. "She is hiding a device. Scan her." "She's been scanned," Senka replied. "Twice." "Scan her again." Lyra raised her voice. "Hey! I'm standing right here. Maybe, just maybe, ask if I'm okay?" Because she wasn't sure she was. Her fingertips tingled. Her bones buzzed. Her breath felt too heavy, like she'd swallowed a star. Something was waking up inside her. Something that didn't feel human. Senka swallowed hard. "Cadet Hale, do you feel anything unusual?" She opened her mouth, and a low hum vibrated through the air, like metal thrumming under tension. Her pupils dilated into shapes no human eye should make. The drones recorded every second. The Varkunk stepped back. Senka took a step forward. Lyra whispered, "I think something's wrong with me." But the universe was already answering. And it didn't sound like wrong. The hum deepened. Not around Lyra, from her. It wasn't sound exactly. It vibrated in the bones of everyone present, slipping beneath armor, under skin, into the molecular scaffolding of the arena itself. A resonance you felt before you heard. Professor Senka froze mid-step. The Varkunk warriors all stiffened, mandibles clattering in alarm. The drones flickered, their stabilizers struggling to hold altitude. Lyra clutched her own arms, face tightening. It's like pressure inside me. Like turning a valve I didn't know was there. Sensors around the arena lit up one by one in cascading red. Unidentified energy signature detected. Source: Human Cadet Hale. Containment recommended. Senka swallowed. Lyra, you are generating a field. We need you to stay still. I am still, she said, voice trembling. What do you think I'm trying to do? Go jogging? Her sarcasm was thin, strained. This wasn't like surviving the cafeteria slap or enduring a controlled strike. This was something else. Something dawning. Something unraveling. A shimmering distortion rose from the floor around her feet, spiraling upward like heat off desert sand. It warped the air, bending light, bending expectation, bending sense. Professor, whispered one of the instructors near the back. She's creating a gravitational anomaly. No, Senka said quietly. It's not gravity. Gravity pulls. This is pushing. As though the universe rejected her presence. Or recognized it. The Varkunk commander stepped forward cautiously. What are you? It demanded. Lyra met its gaze, but her eyes were wrong. Rings of soft luminescence, shifting like orbiting particles. Beautiful, terrifying. I'm human, she said. I'm just human. A low crackle rippled across the arena floor as if the dome itself disagreed. Then the resonance peaked. Everyone felt it hit at once. A sharp, pressure-wave convulsion that knocked the smaller drones out of the air and forced every observer to take a step back. Even the Varkunk had to brace their limbs. Senka, wide-eyed, typed furiously on the console. The system refused to interpret half the readings. Some values came back undefined. Others looped endlessly. A few were marked with the error label reserved for broken instruments. And Lyra? She stood at the center, trembling, caught between terror and something eerily like clarity. Her voice softened. It's like something's trying to sync with me. Like a second heartbeat. A deeper one. Deactivate it, Senka urged. Whatever you're doing, shut it down. I'm not doing anything. The distortion field surged outward again. This time the shockwave didn't throw anyone. It passed through them. Cold. Electric. Ancient. The Varkunk commander gasped. This energy. This is pre-rift frequency. This hasn't existed in the galaxy since. It didn't finish the sentence. Because the lights in the dome flickered once. Twice. And then every hollow projector in the room went white. A new warning replaced the diagnostics. Signature match, 0.00004%. Classification, unknown terraformer protocol. Origin, extinct. Threat level, maximum. Senka's face drained of all color. Lyra, they whispered. This isn't a mutation. This isn't training. This is something older than humanity itself. Lyra exhaled shakily as the hum eased for half a second. Professor, am I going to die? Senka stepped closer, voice unsteady but gentle. No. Cadet Hale. I don't think you're dying. They swallowed hard. I think you're waking up. The hum didn't fade, it shifted. What had been a vibration in the air became a pulse, steady and metronomic, echoing from Lyra's chest outward like invisible ripples on a pond. Every sensor in Arena C7 went silent. Every drone dropped to standby mode. Every cadet, instructor, and warrior stood frozen in place, instinct overriding training. Something primal, older than species, older than technology, told them not to move. Lyra herself felt suspended between two realities. Her knees weakened. Her breath hitched. The pressure inside her rose like a tide with no shore. Lyra, Senka said softly, listen to me. You must stay conscious. You must stay present with us. I'm trying, she whispered. I feel like something's climbing out of my skin. The Varkunk commander, despite everything, found its courage. This is why she must be restrained. It hissed. A being channeling pre-rift force is unstable, dangerous. Lyra snapped toward it reflexively, and the air shattered. A shockwave burst outward from her body, not violent, not explosive, but final. A hard-edged distortion ring expanded from her center, passing over the arena like a tide of warped light. Every being staggered backward as if an invisible hand had shoved them in the chest. The arena floor, not metal, not stone, but a layered composite built to withstand impacts from training mechs, groaned in protest. Hairline fractures rippled out from Lyra's boots in fractal patterns. The third impact had begun. Senka shouted over the oscillating hum. Lyra! Tell me what you're feeling! She gasped, clutching her head. I see things. Or remember them. They're not my memories. Describe them. Worlds, she choked out. Burning. Regrowing. A presence guiding it all. A shape made of gravity and light. It feels like... The pulse hit again, harder. The arena walls bowed outward as though space itself was flexing. I feel like I'm being called, Lyra whispered. Like something is telling me where to go. What to do. What to be. The Varkunk commander shouted toward the instructors. Evacuate the arena! This is a harder pulse dropped it to one knee. Senka stepped forward, refusing to flinch. You're not called to destroy anything, Lyra. Stay with me. Stay in your body. Her vision blurred, white, gold, and possible blues she'd never seen in the visible spectrum. They're not words, she said. It's more like a rhythm. A sequence. A protocol. She lifted her hands. A faint, luminescent pattern spiraled across her palms. Concentric geometric rings, rotating softly like clockwork designed by something that understood physics on a level no mortal species ever had. The room grew deathly quiet. Senka breathed. Terraformer sigils. I don't know what that means, Lyra cried. Make it stop. We're trying. Another pulse. Another shockwave. This one was different. It didn't push people back. It didn't crack the floor. It passed directly into the structure of the arena, making the dome resonate like a struck bell. Drones dropped from the air, not deactivated but overloaded by something they were never built to measure. The Varkunk stumbled backward in fear. Senka stared at Lyra, voice steady despite trembling hands. The third impact is when a terraformer protocol stabilizes, they whispered. It means the phenomenon is no longer building, it's converging. It's reaching its purpose. Lyra looked up, terror swimming in her strange new eyes. What purpose? The hum resolved into a single, perfect, harmonious tone. A tone that sounded like an answer. Senka swallowed. I don't know. The harmonic tone didn't fade, it clarified. What had been an overwhelming resonance now felt almost articulate. Structured. Like the universe speaking in a language made of pressure and light. Lyra felt it settle behind her sternum, a second heartbeat syncing with her own. Bathroom. 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 Her breath steadied against her will. Senka noticed immediately. Your vitals are stabilizing. Lyra shook her head. It's not me doing it. It's something else. Something aligning. The arena dome flickered as its emergency systems rebooted again and again, failing to interpret the signals saturating the air. Fractures in the floor glowed faintly, as if lit from underneath by a color no natural spectrum had a name for. Around her, the cadets, instructors, and Varkunk delegation formed a loose perimeter, nobody daring to step closer, nobody daring to flee. Flight or fight didn't apply when you were trapped in a room with something cosmic wearing the shape of a girl. The youngest Varkunk cadet spoke first, voice thin and trembling. Grand Ancestor Energy? The older Varkunk hissed sharply at it to be silent, but the words hung in the air like live wire. Senka inhaled slowly. Lyra! I need you to focus on your breathing. Don't try to fight the field. But don't follow it either. Just witness it. I'm trying, Lyra whispered. But everything feels too big. Like my senses are stretching into places they shouldn't. The hum thickened. Patterns of light, thin, filament-like, began to form around her. Not touching, just orbiting. Geometric. Precise. They rotated in perfect synchronicity with the pulse in her chest. The arena lights dimmed again as the phenomenon drew energy unconsciously. One of the instructors gasped softly. It's forming a lattice. Senka clenched their jaw. A guidance lattice. Terraformer tech used to stabilize planetary cores and regulate atmospheric cycles. Lyra's voice cracked. Why would it be forming around me? The question sucked the oxygen out of the room. No one dared answer. It wasn't Senka, nor the instructors, nor even the Varkunk who broke the silence. It was the lattice itself. A soft whisper, not sound, not language, but comprehension, slid into Lyra's awareness. Designation located. Biological medium viable. Integration probability, 99.72%. Awaiting command. Lyra flinched, gasping. It's talking to me. Every being in the arena went stiff. Senka forced their voice to remain level. What is it saying? Lyra pressed her palms to her temples. It's asking for a command. A directive. Something to do. Something to be done with it. That implies it's not fully activated, Senka said carefully. It still needs a conscious intention to finalize. Lyra stared wide-eyed at them. You're saying I could trigger whatever this is? Yes. And if I don't? Senka shook their head. It may collapse. Or overload. Or imprint on the nearest viable intelligence. Or remain dormant until conditions change. We don't know. The Varkunk commander stepped forward, voice shaking despite its attempts at discipline. Human, it rasped. You hold a force meant for reshaping worlds. If you issue the wrong command. I know! Lyra snapped, voice reverberating with an undertone that wasn't hers. The air pulsed as though the lattice reacted to her emotion. Lyra gasped. It responds to feelings. Not just words. Senka nodded grimly. Terraformer architecture was semi-sentient. Designed to interpret intent. Lyra looked terrified. Intent? Senka, I don't even know what my intent is. I'm barely holding myself together. You're doing better than you think, Senka murmured. The lattice brightened. Awaiting directive. Awaiting purpose. Awaiting. Lyra choked. It wants something. It needs something. What? Senka asked. What is it asking for? Lyra lifted her head slowly. When she spoke, her voice carried an echo. As if something ancient spoke with her. It wants a world. The room froze solid. Not metaphorically. For one eternal second, even the dust motes hung motionless in the air. A whisper spread over every mind in the dome, not speech, but comprehension. The terraformer protocol was awakening, and it believed Lyra Hale was supposed to guide it. Senka's face went pale. Oh stars, they whispered. Lyra, if you give it a world, it will take one. Lyra's body shook. I don't want any world, she whispered. I don't want anything. I just want this to stop. The lattice flared. A surge of white gold light tore through the arena. And the third impact completed its final resonance. The white gold surge didn't explode outward. It collapsed inward. As though every photon, every particle, every rogue vibration in the arena was sucked toward Lyra and suspended there. It lasted less than a second. But that second stretched, elongated, widened into an eternity's worth of sensation. Every being in Arena C7 felt the same impossible moment. A gravity that wasn't gravity. A silence that wasn't the absence of sound. A presence that wasn't alive and wasn't dead. A command system waking up without receiving a command. A cosmic intake of breath. Then it all snapped back at once. Lights slammed to full brightness. The floor fractures sealed instantly, as if rewinding. Drones rebooted simultaneously, chiming in discordant tones. The walls flexed, whined, and then stabilized. And Lyra collapsed to her knees, gasping. Senka rushed to her, this time pushing against a residual force field that dissolved the moment they touched her shoulder. Lyra! Lyra, look at me! She lifted her head. Her eyes were human again. Brown. Wide. Afraid. The luminous rings that had orbited her pupils were gone. The lattice had vanished. The rolling distortion fields that twisted the air had evaporated like steam off a cooling engine. Lyra looked around as if waking from a nightmare. Is it over? She whispered. Did I stop it? Senka didn't answer right away. They ran a quick scan with a handheld device, one of the few instruments not fried by the anomaly. The readings fluctuated but did not spike. No cosmic resonance. No gravitational anomalies. No impossible inversion energy. But Senka still didn't relax. Your vitals are normal, they said. But that doesn't tell us if the protocol ended or changed. The Varkunk commander struggled to its feet with the disgruntled groan of someone who just survived an earthquake inside a metal box. What did she do? It demanded. What happened to the field? The structure around her? Lyra's voice quivered. I didn't do anything. I panicked. Senka helped her sit upright. Panic might have been the safest possible reaction. Terraformer networks responded to will. Your desire for cessation may have forced a shutdown. Shutdown? The Varkunk snapped. Or concealment? No one answered. The arena's AI chimed back online. Anomaly event logged. Unclassified phenomenon. Recommend full Academy quarantine. Emergency Review Protocol 77A has been notified. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Protocol 77A was invoked only when an event threatened planetary or interplanetary stability. Lyra went pale. Am I in trouble? Senka hesitated. Trouble implies someone understands what happened enough to assign blame. Lyra swallowed. That's not comforting. Senka rested a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It wasn't meant to be. The instructors began ushering cadets out of the arena. No one resisted. No one spoke. Every species shared the same expression. One part confusion, one part awe, one part fear they didn't want to admit. The Varkunk lingered, staring at Lyra like she was a star forged in front of them. Human, the commander said slowly. Your species is a young one. Unarmored. Unaugmented. Fragile. It stepped closer, not in threat, but in wary respect. And yet today, you carried a weapon no empire has wielded for 1,000 generations. Lyra's voice was small. I didn't carry anything. That, the Varkunk said, is what frightens us. Senka shot at a warning glare, stepping protectively beside Lyra. Back off. She needs space. The commander inclined its head and withdrew, but its eyes never left her. As the last observers filed out, the arena doors sealed automatically for quarantine. Lyra and Senka stood alone in the silent dome, surrounded by the ghost of a power that shouldn't exist. Professor, she whispered, I felt something before it ended. A message. Senka froze. What kind of message? Lyra closed her eyes, and her voice trembled as she repeated it. It said, Location verified. Anchor established. A chill shuddered through Senka from crown to heel. Anchor? They repeated softly. Oh no. Lyra stared at them, dread rising again. What does that mean? Senka answered in a whisper barely audible even to themselves. It means the protocol isn't gone. It's attached to you now. The silence after Senka's words was suffocating. Attached. The protocol, the cosmic lattice, the impossible force that had twisted the arena into a physics nightmare, hadn't vanished. It had chosen her. Anchored to her. Lyra's skin prickled, as if the ghost of that resonance still lingered beneath the surface. She hugged herself, trying to make her too small human body feel like protection against something too big and ancient. Senka, she whispered, I don't want anything attached to me. I don't want to be part of whatever that was. I know, Senka murmured, helping her to her feet. But intention may not matter to something that predates intention itself. That's not comforting either. It wasn't meant to be. They tried to offer a small, reassuring smile, but it collapsed under the weight of their own fear. The two of them stood alone in Arena C7, lights still flickering, drones rebooted but trembling, the very air holding a faint metallic tang. A dome built for training felt suddenly too small to hold the implications smoldering between them. Lyra swallowed hard. So what happens now? Do they lock me up? Dissect me? Throw me out an airlock? Senka's expression hardened. You are my student. And under Academy law, a cadet is not surrendered to external authorities unless proven to be an active threat. She laughed weakly. Did you see what I just did? The floor cracked like an eggshell. You didn't attack anyone. Everything that happened was reactive, not aggressive. That distinction matters. But an anchor. Lyra's voice broke. A cosmic anchor. What does that make me? A puppet? A conduit? A fuse waiting to blow? Senka took a step closer. It makes you someone who needs answers. And I intend to help you find them. Before Lyra could reply, a deep rumble rolled through the dome, mechanical, heavy, thrusting vibrations into the floor. The arena screens lit with a new warning. Incoming authority. Academy Mastership, Overview. Rank, High Council Command. Reason, Mandatory Intervention Protocol. Lyra tensed. High Council. That sounds extremely bad. It's not good, Senka admitted. But it's not an execution squad. Lyra deadpanned. Great. Maybe just a detention squad. Possibly. They gave a helpless shrug as the heavy doors began to unlock with a grinding metallic clank. Layers of shielding peeled away one by one, physical locks, energy seals, magnetic restraints. Lyra exhaled shakily. They really think I'm dangerous. They think the phenomenon is dangerous, Senka corrected. And you're the closest thing to a clue they have. Lyra's hands shook. I don't want to be a clue. The final lock disengaged. The doors slid open. A squad of armored guardians filed in. 8 beings in adaptive exobio suits, helms sealed, weapons holstered but unmistakably present. They fanned out with surgical precision, forming a half-circle around Lyra and Senka. Behind them entered a figure not in armor. A tall, slender being draped in rippling mantle cloths that shimmered like liquid graphite. Their face was half covered by a ceremonial mask, etched with symbols that seemed to shift depending on where Lyra focused. A high counselor. The highest authority on the station. Senka bowed instinctively, though stiffly. Counselor Vera. That was swift. The anomaly required immediacy, the counselor replied. Their voice was calm, resonant, almost soothing. Too soothing. We detected the terraformer's signature from orbit. Lyra's heart lurched. So you believe that's what this is? We do not believe, Vera said softly. We measure. We confirm. Their masked gaze turned to Lyra. You are the anchor. Lyra took an involuntary step back. The guardians didn't move, but the shift of their weight made it clear retreat was not an option. I didn't choose that, she said, hating how small her voice sounded. Few ever choose their roles in the machinery of creation, Vera replied. But refusing them changes nothing. Senka stepped protectively in front of Lyra. She is not a tool. Vera tilted their head. No. She is the ignition point. Lyra's skin went cold. Ignition? Of what? Vera extended a hand, not threateningly, not warmly. Simply an invitation. We must speak somewhere secure. And somewhere shielded. The last pulse registered through the entire continental plate of this station. Lyra froze. She had done that? I didn't mean to, she whispered. Intention is irrelevant, Vera murmured. What matters is control. Lyra stared down at her hands, remembering the light that had spiraled across them, the hum that had bent the air, the voice that had spoken in her head. I don't know how to control it. That, Vera said, is why you are coming with us. The Guardians closed formation. Lyra's throat tightened. And if I say no? Vera's mask shimmered faintly. Then the anchor will act without guidance. The meaning was clear. They weren't giving her a choice because she genuinely didn't have one. Not if she wanted to stay alive. Not if she wanted the station to survive. Not if she wanted the galaxy to stay in one piece. Senka squeezed Lyra's shoulder gently. You're not alone. She nodded, numb, terrified, trying to hold herself together as her world tilted into cosmic absurdity. I'll go, she whispered. The counselor inclined their head. Good. The universe has already noticed your awakening, Lyra Hale. Now we must learn what it intends to do with you. As the Guardians escorted them toward the corridor, Lyra felt the faintest vibration under her ribs. The second heartbeat she hoped had vanished. It had not. It pulsed again. Once. Twice. And soft as breath, a whisper brushed her mind. Awaiting next directive. Lyra stumbled. Senka caught her. The counselor turned, gaze unreadable behind their mask. It has already resumed. Lyra whispered back, voice breaking. I know. They escorted her through the academy's inner corridors. The ones students never saw, where the walls were too thick, the lights too cold, and the hum of the ventilation sounded suspiciously like containment machinery rather than climate control. The Guardians flanked her in silence. Senka walked at her side like a tether, the one familiar star in a sky that had turned hostile and incomprehensible. Counselor Vera led the way, mantle shifting like liquid shadow. But halfway down the corridor, Lyra felt it again. The second heartbeat. Bathroom. Bathroom. She clenched her fists to stop the trembling. Senka, she whispered without moving her lips. It's still active. Senka nodded almost imperceptibly. I know. Vera's voice drifted back without turning. Speak openly. The protocol can sense fear. It feeds on unspoken tension. Lyra flinched. Feeds? Not in the predatory sense, Vera replied. In the interpretive sense. Terraformer systems used emotional resonance as directive structures. Intention shapes outcome. So if I panic, Lyra said shakily, I could accidentally reshape a moon? Or collapse a coastline, Vera said. Calm. Factual. Terrifying. Senka glared at them. Your bedside manner is atrocious. We do not have time for softness, Vera answered simply. They reached a massive circular chamber deep in the station, walls reinforced with shimmering hexagonal layers, the air thick with null-field dampeners that hummed against Lyra's skin like a warning. The door sealed behind them. Inside stood a single platform surrounded by diagnostic columns and containment grids. A place built for the study of anomalies, not the comfort of living beings. Lyra stopped at the edge of the platform. You expect me to get on that? Vera nodded. The field must be mapped. Senka placed a hand over hers. I'll be right here. Lyra took a breath and stepped onto the platform. Immediately, the lights dimmed. Sensors activated. The hum intensified. The heartbeat inside her synced with the room's machines. Bathroom. A ring of light flared above her head. Bathroom. The floor pulsed with geometric symbols. Bathroom. A hologram formed, an outline of the protocol threading through her nervous system like a constellation. Tiny points of light connected in a fractal branching pattern, deeper than veins, deeper than nerves, deeper than bone. Senka stared, horrified. It merged with your cellular architecture. Lyra felt nauseous. Can you take it out? No, Thera said. Terraformer systems do not attach. They integrate. If we attempted extraction, it would tear her apart. Lyra's breathing quickened. Then what do you do with me? Teach you control, Thera said. And pray you never lose it. Before Lyra could respond, her vision blurred again. Not light. Not sound. A sense moving through her. Then the voice returned. Directive required. Stasis unsustainable. Anchor unstable. Awaiting instruction. Lyra gasped. It wants something. It wants something now. Senka stepped closer. Lyra, listen to me. Don't choose anything. Don't think of anything. Just breathe. We can override. The lattice flared into existence around her, faint, ghost-like, but unmistakable. The pre-rift geometry folded through the air like origami made of gravity. The containment grid screamed warnings. Vera snapped commands to the Guardians. Stabilize the null field. She's slipping into synchronization. Lyra shook her head violently. I'm not trying to do anything. Awaiting. 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 The word echoed through her skull. Her heart pounded. Her breath hitched. Her mind spiraled. The protocol pulsed. Choose. Reality warped. The entire chamber trembled as the terraformer field surged outward, glowing lines along the walls, humming through every structural support. The Guardians staggered under the pressure. Senka lunged toward her. Lyra! Don't let it latch onto your fear. Fear becomes destruction. Hold on, just hold. But Lyra wasn't hearing them anymore. Her awareness felt stretched across distances she could not comprehend. Stars. Worlds. Empty space waiting for shape. A cosmic canvas. Endless potential. Endless hunger for purpose. Her voice cracked under the strain. I don't want any of this. And everything stopped. The hum vanished. The lattice flickered. The platform darkened. For a moment, just a moment, the universe held its breath. Then the terraformer voice whispered. Directive registered. Primary command none. Anchor stabilization in progress. Lyra collapsed. Senka caught her before she hit the ground. Vera stared, stunned. She refused the protocol. Senka looked down at the girl trembling in their arms. She didn't issue a command. She rejected the entire system. Vera breathed the words like a revelation. No anchor has ever refused. The Guardian captain stepped forward cautiously. Counselor, status? Vera exhaled, mind racing behind the mask. Status unprecedented. Lyra blinked weakly, coming back to herself. Did I break it? She whispered. No, Vera said slowly. You did something far stranger. They knelt, mantle pooling around them like shadow made liquid. You asserted human will over a pre-rift cosmic protocol. You shouldn't have been able to do that. Lyra wiped tears from her face. I don't want to be a world breaker. Vera tilted their head. Then perhaps you won't be. Senka squeezed her hand, their voice soft and fierce. You proved something today, Lyra Hale. Not that you're dangerous. Lyra looked up. That you're stronger than what's trying to use you. Vera rose. This changes everything. The universe has noticed you, but now it must consider something new. They turned toward the sealed chamber door. A cosmic weapon you can't control is a disaster. But a cosmic weapon that refuses to obey. Vera's mask shimmered. That is a wild card. Lyra's heart thudded softly, one human heartbeat, then the quieter cosmic echo beneath. She wasn't free of it. But she wasn't owned by it, either. Not anymore. Vera nodded to her with something like respect. Cadet Hale. The anchor remains. The power remains. But the directive is yours to decide. Or to deny. Lyra breathed in, slow, shaky, human. Good, she whispered. Because I'm not giving the universe anything it didn't earn. Vera paused at the doorway. And what, Lyra Hale, has the universe earned? Lyra met their gaze with tired, defiant eyes. Nothing yet. The chamber lights dimmed as containment sealed once more. And somewhere deep inside her chest, the second heartbeat settled into a quiet rhythm. Waiting. Not demanding. Not controlling. Just waiting. For her.